Hey guys, it's Soncerae here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Tap the notification bell so you can be a part of the notification squad, alright? I'm glad you subscribed anyway. Sometimes I'll be like, why do people subscribe to me? What the fuck is my channel about? Anyway, so I want to talk about the Mandela effect today. And for those of you that don't know what the Mandela effect is, it's actually like the little creepy shit that you can't like explain. Let me explain. A long time ago, not even really that long ago, I'm trying to make it seem like 2010 was like BC or some shit. Well, it was this one lady, I can't remember this creepy lady's name, but anyway, she was like this paranormal specialist, and she was at Comic-Con, and her and a lot of people were having this conversation about Nelson Mandela and how they believe that he died in 1980, which is interesting because that's when I thought he died, in jail. Like, for years, I had thought this. So when I saw him alive and he was released from prison, I was like, who taught me that this man died? Like, I was like, I don't remember him being alive. And then when he died again, it was like, I could have sworn this man was dead, right? So anyway, she calls it the Mandela effect because there's so many people, hundreds of thousands of people out there who also believe that Nelson Mandela had passed away already. And there are also so many other things out there that a lot of people feel like happened inside of their timeline or their history that actually did not happen. And there's a lot of examples of this stuff happening, and there's a lot of things that people say in regards to what they have experienced or seen or heard that some type of way never happened. Okay, and let me give you an example. When I said something about the Mandela effect to my daughter, she said something about Tank Boy, and I said, who the fuck is Tank Boy? Apparently Tank Boy is one of these Asians who actually got ran over by a tank. She remembers this story for some reason. She remembers this guy being ran over, I guess, inside of a protest. But at the end of the day, this guy is living and well. But the actual story is that he actually is alive and the tank went around him. But just like her, there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who remember this happening or was taught that this guy was actually ran over by a tank during like some type of protest. So that's her story that she remembers. That's her one thing. She also remembers, and I remember this as well because I said this to her, she remembers that Pikachu, you know, from Pokemon, used to have a black like end of his tail, right? She remembers that. And I remember that because I used to watch Pokemon all of the time. And I remember when it first came out. For some reason, I was like addicted to Pokemon. And I'm telling you, Pikachu, the end of his tail was black. And she remembers the black tail. And so what made me even actually bring up the Mandela effect to her to begin with is because I started looking at my perspective of life and how liquidy and flexible it is. And I thought about all of the things that I changed in my life just by a thought process. Like all of the things that I wanted to do, I had to actually think about doing first and actually think about how to implement whatever it was that I was thinking, and that way that created my reality, with also me having a whole bunch of compassion and belief that this thing was actually going to happen regardless. Like I was going to make the shit happen, and this is how it ended up happening. It didn't just happen by chance all of the time. It's just to some degree either I had faith in the situation or belief in the situation that it was going to happen. So each little thing that's happened in my life is always started off from a thought, you know, and then it just manifested into reality. So I started thinking about this, and I started thinking about all of the bad things that happened to me, right? And then I started thinking about how quickly things changed and shifted, sometimes without me knowing that, and it didn't make any sense. Like some things I could have sworn happened, and then somehow, in some way, someone has reminded me that the history or timeline that I remember did not happen. And so I was like, all right. So I started thinking about the stuff that happened to me recently that made me even think about the Mandela effect. And one of the things that happened to me recently that it just occurred to me, which is, I don't know why it's just now happening, and maybe it happens at different times in different people's lives, but it's always the same memory. Like I could think maybe if I was the only one that remembered this stuff, that it could possibly be me, right? But then if I'm going to other people and I'm saying this specific thing happened to me, I remember this being one way, and everybody I'm saying it to saying, hey, I remember that as well. Now here's a good example of this just happening to me recently, and I'm talking about within like the past month. So I've been going to Chick-fil-A, right? I've been going to Chick-fil-A since 1998. I remember the first time I saw a Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was in Annapolis Mall in Annapolis, Maryland. But no, that's not for how far back. It was like let me take that back. This was 2000, right before I moved to Atlanta. Okay? Right before I moved to Atlanta. This was 2000. Me and Dominique's father's cousin's girlfriend had just had a baby as well. And her and I decided to go out to Annapolis and go have lunch and go walk around the mall. We walked around the mall and I saw Chick-fil-A for the first time. All right, and I was like, wow, what the hell is a Chick-fil-A? Now, during this time, I remember this because I wanted to remember if I saw one again. After I ate it, I realized this is something that I want to try again. So during this time, it was spelled. Now, I'm just telling you what I saw and what I've been seeing for years, okay? It was spelled CHICFIL-A, right? This is how Chick-fil-A was spelled. This is how Chick-fil-A been being spelled. This is how I kept seeing Chick-fil-A. All right, now suddenly, within the past couple of weeks, I'm looking at Chick-fil-A now, something I eat all of the time, a place I have been to over and over and over again for the past 17 years, all right? Now suddenly Chick-fil-A is spelled CHICK-FIL-A. And it's other people that's saying that it was spelled CHIK-FIL-A. And I'm like, this can't be like some big mistake that I was suddenly making. I have been to Chick-fil-A over and over. It's like spelling McDonald's wrong. No one spells McDonald's wrong. Like, who does that? No fucking body. That's how I know. It's little stuff like that that reminds me that there's some type of shift that happened in the realities or the universes that I'm experiencing. And I remember about 2 months ago, me and a priest were sitting down having a conversation, and he said to me, I feel like a shift. I just felt a shift in reality. Something has shifted and everything is completely different than it was a week ago or yesterday. You know, and I said to him, you feel that? And he said, yeah. And I feel like before I met him, I was not woke. You know, those of you who are woke, those of you who are conscious, now when you look out into the world and you see it, it looks so different than the way that it looked when you were like this zombie. And I feel like priest brought a lot of consciousness into my life. We would sit down and we would talk about spirituality, and he enlightened me to so many things that it was like planting a seed into the ground and then watering it, and my mind just started opening up to so many other things. And now I'm on such a different frequency level that I'm starting to understand what's actually happening in my life. What's reality? What's the different universes? What's frequency? What's vibration? All of these things that was never taught to me outside of my physics class in high school. And these are the everyday things that we're dealing with as a people that most of us aren't even understanding. Like, a lot of us feel like our lives are running on autopilot, right? A lot of people believe that, okay? And I have no problem with people if that's how they want to live, but you got to think about stuff that you see, like The Matrix. All right, The Matrix is a prime example that life sometimes feels like I'm in a computer simulated experience, and I get to program this computer or get to decide what I want to see next. That's what this feels like. It feels like my life right now is a piece of a hologram, a bigger hologram of a bigger scheme of things that I'm not paying attention to every day, because I'm paying attention to the small everyday little shit I have to do in order to survive. But once you figure out what the bigger picture is to begin with, and you start understanding how much you can control, then your life starts getting easier, and you're starting to be able to juggle the smaller shit in order to survive. And so I said, you know, for years I've been wanting to focus on my metaphysics and teach more about spirituality and metaphysics, and I always thought these were things that people weren't necessarily interested in, because I would see people more interested in entertainment and more interested in comedy and, you know, politics and race and relationships, and I would look at my channel and see what people would continue to watch. And then I go onto these other channels on YouTube, right, and they have their metaphysics and that's all they're talking about. It's just tapping into that type of environment and that type of crowd to where they're on my same level mentally, because I know this Mandela effect video right here is going over so many people's heads. Like, people are probably watching this shit like, this bitch has lost her damn mind. But it's really like a mind-blowing experience, like, once you think about it. And I just gave you a few examples. For another example, the Monopoly dude. I remember when I was younger, the Monopoly dude had one glass, like he had a glass over his eye. You know that one glass with the string? He had that over his eye. That was the logo. I would see him running around. He would have that one glass and he would have a bag in his hand. And suddenly now he does not have that. You know, it's little stuff like that. Like, for example, what else? Fruit Loops. I remember the first time I realized Fruit Loops was spelled different on the front of the damn Fruit Loop box. I have been eating Fruit Loops since I was a kid, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I realized that Fruit Loops was spelled F-R-O-O-T. Like, when did that happen? Because it used to regularly be spelled Fruit Loops. Same thing with Looney Tunes. When I was young, Looney Tunes was spelled Looney, regular Looney, and Tunes was T-O-O-N-S. Now it's like Looney Tunes is spelled Looney, but T-U-N-E-S. When did this happen? So these are like little small reality shifts, like stuff that stuff that just blows your mind. Like, when did this occur? And you know you're not crazy because other people think this shit too. Like, you can sit down and have a conversation with someone else about this and they'd be like, oh yeah, you know, this happened, I remember this and such. That's how my mind is going right now, and I'm just so open to so many things. And I remember saying to Priest, you think I'm crazy, don't you? Because I was saying this to him like, dude, I feel like some things in my life have shifted because I could have sworn such and such was happening. I could have sworn blah blah blah, and now this different thing is happening. So it's just a shift in the universe. And I said, well, if I want my life to be a certain way, I either got to shift back to that parallel universe I was in, or find a way to be inside of a better reality. And really, that's all it boils down to at the end of the day when we're talking about frequency and metaphysics. Because I try to tell people, like, people who are ill, people who are not financially stable, people who are living a life that they don't necessarily want to live at the moment, I always tell them, your life, you get to decide which direction you want to go. You get to decide how to respond to shit. You get to decide how to define the things that's happening to you. And once you define those things actually help you create your reality. It's like, okay, say for instance, somebody make you mad one day. How you respond to them? You can either A, ignore them and keep it moving. B, start arguing with them in the street. C, shoot them in the head. All three of those things will determine how your life ends up. Okay? In the future, a present thought that's happening right now can control what happens to you in the future. The only power that you got is inside of this moment. If you notice, tomorrow is always tomorrow. Even when you wake up, tomorrow. It's always tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. So really, the reality of the situation is the only time that you are living, the only time that you have power is today. You get to control what's happening at this very moment, right now. It's always right now, right now, right now. Tomorrow ain't came yet. Tomorrow ain't even real. Tomorrow is like some mystical thing that's happening that you have no control over except for right now. So it's like a lot of people feel like, oh, well, you know, tomorrow I'll do blah, 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 blah. No, you gotta start doing that shit today. And then, just like I said about history, just like I said about Monopoly, Pikachu, damn Chick-fil-A, a lot of that shit can change. Because you get to define the stuff that's happening inside of your life, and you never know. You never know how things are going to be different when you tap into a new reality or a new universe. Everything isn't flat. Like, the world isn't flat. And I said I was going to do a video about three-dimensional relationships, and how you look at relationships differently in different dimensions. And it you know, my scientific mind will have you blown. Okay? Like, how I think. I never really share with the world how deep I think. And I think with Priest, he's kind of opened me back up to my deep shit. I'm gonna have you guys like this. Oh, you watching this video? Oh, you stuck now. The mothership can't save you, so your ass is gonna get left. Speak, my sister. Speak. Had me over here talking about Nibiru, Planet X, Malachi York, and shit. Don't make me get deep. You gonna be woke by the time I'm finished with you. I appreciate you guys for watching.